What's going on, everybody? So out in front of the OMTech Pro 150 watt, and I've been playing with it for a little while, but I'm realizing that not everybody knows how to just throw settings at a laser. So let's jump into showing you how to find some good settings for cutting wood. So we're going to go through test cards using some already made test cards and even using the test card generator in Lightburn. So hang on tight, let's get into it. So first off, here we are looking at Lightburn in my computer. I have downloaded one of the test cards that we have in the official OMTech users group. So this one, you can see here, is a high output card. So it's using a little bit lower powers and higher speeds. So we're going to run this card and see what of these circles cut out. The idea is that if you cut at 35% power, at 30 speed, this will cut out, and so on as you go through. That's what this grid is for, is to tell you if you're using this power and this speed, this is what happens. Cut out or it doesn't. So we're going to use this card, see what happens, and then we'll talk about the results. And before we get too far into it, I just want to throw a shout out to Jonathan Frost over at Frosty Design Shop. He has created these cards, and we have been housing these cards in our group for a while now. He is a user in the community. He's an awesome guy, and so just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that these cards are coming from him, and he's been able to help a lot of people in the laser community just with these simple cards. He's got a lot of other cool stuff, files, designs, things like that in his Etsy shop, so check him out. All right, so let's take a look at our results. So we'll go ahead and I'll zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this is 1/4 inch material. So this is a sandy ply that I get from Home Depot. And so here are the results that are going on. So we've got our speeds, we've got our powers, and so at 50 millimeters a second, we're cutting through at 30% power and 35% power. At 45 speed, we are cutting at 25, 30, and 35. So as we're slowing down, we start cutting more holes. So 40, we're at 20, 25, 30, 35. So you can see this correlation. And I mean, that one doesn't looks like we got a couple others that are pretty close. But here's the thing, is you want to make sure that you are going for a sure thing. So when I look at this, I say, okay, what's a speed that I want to stick to, or a power that I want to stick to? If I always want to stick to, say, 35% power, then I could go with 50, because I'm guessing that at 35% power, maybe at 55, 60, we were cutting out as well. Or if you wanted to go for a sure thing and make sure everything's always cutting out, you go 45, 35, and then call that golden. You can also go faster. So what we can do now that we kind of know what these results are, we can even go build our own card inside of Lightburn that are speeds a little bit faster than this and powers a little bit faster than this, and see what happens. All right, so inside of Lightburn, to set up a material test card, you actually come into this laser tools menu here, come down to material test card, and this is what it comes up with. So in order to judge off of speed and power, because that's what we want to do, we're going to have speed and power as these options. There's a couple of different options, speed, power, interval, and passes. Right now, I want speed and power. That's it. So we'll leave this at speed, and we can go and tell it how many sets of speeds we want it to do, but that's also going to be dictated by this here. So what we were seeing is at 50 millimeters a second, we were cutting through at 35% power. So what we could do is let's go above our 35% power here. So our minimum, we'll say 35. And then our maximum, really, I only want to go up to 70 because I know that's about where my tube should be maxing out. And then I know that it worked at 50. So let's do our minimum of 50. And I mean, I think we're going to go at, say, 100. And let's go ahead and let's take a look at the preview and see what that shows us. So this is going to cut out squares, and this is what it's going to look like when it's done. So our power is going to go from 35 to 38 to 42. So honestly, I think we could probably even narrow this up and push the power up a little bit more, or just say, hey, we want less columns. Because if we take out less columns, then the breakdown will be lower. So let's go ahead and say okay. And I want to say, okay, my count, let's do 6. 5. Okay, I think like that, that'll bump us up to 50. You know, we're going 35, 33. You know, this is just kind of giving us a rough estimate. So also in our speeds, we've got kind of an odd space in speeds. So let's just go ahead and change that. So we could do 5, because that will break it up a little bit more evenly. And maybe 6. Okay, there we go. So now we got nice even numbers. So we got 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So now what it's going to do, it's going to go through, it's going to engrave all this stuff, engrave there, and then it's going to cut all these squares out. So let's go ahead and let's send this to laser, and you do that by selecting over here what your start point is going to be. That's going to be our bottom left corner, and then we can even frame it on the machine and get everything sent over there. If you did need to, for whatever reason, you know, you can edit your text settings. So mine, I've got it 620 at 0.1. That's what I was using on the last card. So that should be all good. And I'm actually going to change this to fill all shapes at once, because then that will run across and fill everything that's in a line together. So we'll say okay, and we'll get this over to the laser. Okay, so looking at the results of this card, there are things that I don't like, because I know that these results are not true. So as you look at this, it's basically saying that I'm cutting through at 100 millimeters a second at all powers, which there's no way that that's true. The issue is that as you're using this card, it has to speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down on the edge of each box. So the laser is never getting up to 100 millimeters a second. It's getting up to, maybe 50 as it's stop, 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 stop. So that's one of the reasons why a card like this and running circles is a better result, and it's going to tell you a better story, because it's actually going to be a continuous motion as it rolls through. It's a continuous motion, and it's able to actually get up to speed. So I'm not loving this. It has its place. Honestly, I think that like the test card in Lightburn is even better for engraving. But I'm sticking to this card and what the result that it's telling me. So what I could do is I could even go in and edit these, but I like these speeds, or I could even just go and say, hey, I know that this works, so I'm going to continually bump it up. I've got a good ballpark, so now I know something I can work from, and I could just go ahead, make a circle, increase the power, increase the speed, and then just keep bumping up the speed until I ran into something that doesn't cut out, and then back it back down. All right, so I've made an example of exactly what I was talking about. So what you can see here is everything is 70% power, because that's the power that I know that I can like max the tube out, but maybe it's still in a safe area. And then each one of these is going to up by 10. So it's going to be 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. And then it'll cut out. So let's run this one and see what results we get. All right, so here we can see that that last one, it had some good starch to it, but it did not cut all the way through. I could probably push it through, but it showed me that it didn't actually cut through. So it is different than that card. But yeah, so this is our 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And this is at 70% power. So it's still cruising through things, and these cut easy. The ultimate test is let's go and cut out something bigger so that way it's actually getting up to speed. We know it's doing it and see what happens. So so we got 50, 60, 70. Let's go 70 and 70. And let's cut something bigger, see what happens. All right, so you can see it did it, but it wasn't the cleanest. So with this result, I want to back it down so that way I can get clean cuts and they just drop out every time. But that's the question, or that's the test. You see the test to get in the ballpark and start refining the settings that you want to use on all of your different materials. All right, so that gives you an idea of what the OMTech Pro can do, and that's on 1/4 inch material. A lot of people, the bulk of what they're doing is 1/8 inch. So 1/8 inch material, this thing is going to cruise through it even faster. But let's do some stupid stuff. Let's see if we can cut some thick things, 3/4, 2x4, like whatever. Let's see what happens, and we'll swap out. This is a 2.5 inch lens. I'll grab a 4 inch lens and just see what happens. All right, so what you're looking at here, this is some 3/4 inch poplar. I've got the setting set to 8 millimeters a second at 70% power, and let's see if we can cut through it. So we're gonna go frame it, just make sure it's in the right area, and let's go. Well, there you go, cut right through it. All right, just swapped it out, and now I've got some 3/4 inch MDF. MDF sucks. I hate cutting MDF. And so we're going to see if this one will cut through. We're going to cut a 3-inch circle through this one. So I'm frame it up, make sure it's in the right place, and hit go. So it doesn't quite look like that one went through. I didn't even see any burn marks on the back. I did focus down into the material to try and see if we could get a little bit farther. I just think it's going to be too dense. I probably need like a 4-inch lens if I was going to try and do it. But honestly, like 3/4 inch, um, 3/4 inch MDF, kind of unrealistic for a laser. You'd want to have like a CNC for something like that. So for kicks and giggles, I gave it another shot, tried it again, slowed it down, 4 millimeters a second, 70% power, 3/4 inch ply, or 3/4 inch MDF right there. All right, so now let's try some. This is 3/4 inch pine ply. I've never had it cut very well with a laser, so we'll give this a try, see how it does with the same settings that I just did on the MDF. So I'll go ahead and just hit start. Nope, not quite. Just a lot of glue, a lot of gunk in there. So wasn't quite successful on that one. Maybe with a 4 inch lens, but I'm trying to see what all we can do with just the inch and a half. So like you can see, it really started to like burn it there. All right, so now I got a 2x4. But in order to do the 2x4, I know the 2.5 inch lens, it's probably not going to be great. So I'm going to take this apart and just kind of show you guys what you have to do. So there's these thumb screws on the front. You undo them. Take that out. And then you just slide this whole assembly out. And you can see right here, so there is a spot that's marked on here. Oh, focus. Kind of hard to get those markings. But there's a spot on here that says 2.5, and then there's a 4 inch mark at the top. So there's two spots for lenses. The bottom goes 2.5. The top you put in for the 4 inch lens. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bottom one out, get the top one with my 4 inch lens put in there, and we'll give this a shot. All right, got the 4 inch lens put in there, focused it down. One of the limitations that I think I'm going to have is because the 4 inch lens is already mounted up here, I can't focus halfway down into the material. I'm still a little bit close to the top. But let's give it a try. Doing the same settings, 4 millimeters a second, 70% power that I did on the MDF. Let's see what happens. So I can see burn marks all the way through there. So I mean, I think I'm pretty dang close. I can see it opening up there. If I would run it a little bit slower, it probably would have cut all the way through. Impressive thing is I can actually see the heat of the beam hitting stuff at the bottom of the bed. So hang on, let's grab something to pry this open. See how far it went. There you go. I mean, just a tail end there that it didn't get. Pretty crazy. All right, well, I'm going to call it a wrap for that one. We got to see some real world testing and how you would dial in your own settings. And then some stupid stuff that really I have no need for cutting a 2x4 on my laser. But I could do it if I wanted to. So if this was helpful, if you liked it, if it was fun content, please like it, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you want to see next, and we will see you on the next one.